The 2025 Brazilian Grand Prix marked a new turning point in the history of Formula One. However, it wasn't due to an overtake or dramatic victory. Rather, it was due to a controversial decision by the FIA that prompted Lewis Hamilton and Ferrari boss Frédéric Vasseur to openly criticise the sport's governing body. The two influential figures accused the FIA of losing its way, and the entire paddock was thrown into turmoil amid protests, emotions, and major questions about the fairness of modern Formula One. Has the FIA truly lost its way, as Hamilton and Vasseur claimed? Let's discuss it. From the moment the starting lights went out at the Interlagos circuit, Lewis Hamilton's fate seemed sealed. What initially seemed like a promising start for Ferrari, with the opportunity to finish on the podium, quickly turned into a nightmare when Hamilton's SF25 was hit from behind by Carlos Sainz at the first corner. The impact destabilised Hamilton's car, forcing him to fight desperately to stay on the track. But the disaster wasn't over yet. On the straight leading to turn 4, Hamilton's car was hit again, this time by Franco Collinto, who was approaching too aggressively from the right. This second collision severely damaged the Ferrari's floorboard. Telemetry data showed that the SF25 had lost almost 40 points of downforce, rendering the car almost undrivable. Rather than receiving sympathy, or at least an objective assessment, however, Hamilton was given a 5-second penalty and was made to take full responsibility for the incident with Collinto. This decision immediately sparked a strong reaction from many in the paddock, especially since camera footage showed that Hamilton had barely any room to evade the collision. For Hamilton, who had just endured a series of absurd penalties in Mexico, this decision was the last straw. Over the radio, he sounded deeply frustrated and emotional. "These guys are a complete joke," he exclaimed. His outburst shook the paddock, not just because of his words, but because he represented the feelings of many drivers who were beginning to question whether fairness in Formula One was still truly equal. After the race, Ferrari finally revealed the facts that had shaken the paddock. They confirmed that Lewis Hamilton had lost almost 40 points of downforce due to serious damage to his floorboard following the initial incident. With such a significant loss, the Mercedes became practically unstable and difficult to control. In those conditions, Hamilton was no longer racing. He was fighting for his life on the track. However, the FIA considered this technical fact irrelevant. The stewards insisted that Hamilton was solely responsible for the collision, despite the fact that it occurred amid the chaos at the first corner involving several cars. This decision immediately sparked a wave of criticism. Many in the paddock considered the decision to be both unreasonable and detrimental to the spirit of fair racing. Some commentators and former drivers even considered what happened to be a pure racing incident, a classic example of an unavoidable situation arising from the brutal intensity of the start of an F1 race, with no malice or fatal error on anyone's part. A few hours after the race, Ferrari boss Frédéric Vasseur addressed the media. In a calm but firm manner, he drew attention to the inconsistency of the FIA's decision, which was once again under public scrutiny. "Two incidents are too many," he said briefly, but his words echoed loudly throughout the paddock. These simple words immediately made headlines in various international media outlets. However, behind his diplomatic language lies a much deeper criticism. For Vasseur, Formula One is losing its sense of fairness. According to sources in Maranello, both Vasseur and Hamilton agree that the FIA's decision-making processes are becoming increasingly difficult to comprehend. Sometimes lenient and sometimes harsh, with no logical explanation that the teams can accept. Vasseur has reportedly sent an official report to the F1 Council, demanding greater transparency in the communication between teams and stewards prior to major decisions being made. He believes that the system designed to ensure fairness has instead become a source of uncertainty. "We can't continue like this. If the rules can change depending on who's involved, then it goes against the spirit of the sport," said a Ferrari team member who declined to be named. The controversy quickly became a major talking point in the paddock. Did Hamilton truly deserve the punishment? Or was this decision simply the result of political pressure and the FIA's desire to protect its public image? Many people in the paddock including several drivers from rival teams, privately expressed sympathy for Hamilton. They felt that the FIA was inconsistent, often making decisions based on interpretation rather than evidence. Social media erupted. Despite his deep disappointment over the controversial decision at the Brazilian Grand Prix, Lewis Hamilton took a mature and graceful approach with the media. He didn't blame anyone, but he also spoke out about the injustice he felt. Hamilton acknowledged that his season hadn't been perfect and that he had made some mistakes, but he also said that he had been a victim of circumstances beyond his control. "We lost so much downforce. The car was uncontrollable." He emphasised that it was just a racing incident, not recklessness, and that the incident was caused more by technical factors than negligence. For a 7-time world champion, those words were not just a defence mechanism. They were an expression of the mental fortitude and integrity of a driver who always leads from the front, swimming against the tide even when the world seems to be against him. He ended the interview with a statement that immediately resonated throughout the paddock and on social media. "It's a challenge, but I'll rise again." This simple statement encapsulated the mentality of a legend who does not seek excuses, but insists on justice while promising to come back stronger. However, behind Hamilton's calm demeanour, a major storm was brewing. Ferrari felt that their struggles on the track had become even more challenging, due not only to the fierce competition between teams, but also to the perceived inconsistency of officiating. Frédéric Vasseur stated that racing under seemingly arbitrary decisions was damaging to the spirit of competition itself. Several F1 analysts considered this not just an emotional outburst, but a clear sign of a credibility crisis within the FIA. In recent seasons, stewards' decisions have often sparked controversy, ranging from inconsistent penalties to a lack of transparency. Now, the pressure is mounting. Many are calling for the FIA to undertake major reforms to its system for enforcing rules. Otherwise, the sport's highest governing body risks losing its most valuable asset: the trust of teams, drivers, and the millions of Formula One fans worldwide. While the spotlight has been on Ferrari and Hamilton, the drama in the paddock has continued. At Mercedes, Toto Wolff publicly demanded an emergency meeting with the FIA regarding inconsistent and unpredictable penalty procedures. Wolff stated that Hamilton's case is just the tip of the iceberg and that the FIA has lost effective communication with the teams. "We can't continue racing in uncertainty every weekend," he told Sky Sports. Christian Horner from the Red Bull camp took a more diplomatic yet still pointed tone. He emphasised that, although Red Bull was not directly involved in the controversy in Brazil, the issue affected the credibility of the entire championship. "If the FIA doesn't fix its system, we will all be affected. Any team could be the next victim." Meanwhile, McLaren also joined in, demanding transparency. Will the FIA admit its mistakes and fix its system? Leave your thoughts below.